Alright, hi. My name is Corinne. I am the mom of 2 daughters that are both deaf, deaf hard of hearing. My oldest daughter, Amory, is 7. She has conductive hearing loss bilaterally. She has microtia and atresia, so she has severe loss. My youngest daughter, Riley, is 7 months old, and she has bilateral conductive loss as well. Hers is moderate severe. She just has atresia and microtia. So we decided to start signing with my oldest daughter. It was kind of a gradual process through just sort of doing lots of research and looking at videos on YouTube, and just I really wanted to see what this would look like for my girls, because honestly I took an ASL class a long time ago in high school, but really didn't know hardly anything about deaf culture or what it really looked like in the day-to-day to be deaf and to grow up deaf. And so I really just, in my head it was one thing, but the more I did research and looked at how she could get access to language, we just started signing in also through hearing Rachel Coleman of Signing Time. She kind of put a voice to what my mom intuition was telling me. So it was just kind of gradual. We started off, again, at that point, it was becoming popular. All of the hearing babies were signing, just, the basics, more milk, all that kind of stuff. So I thought, well, we'll just start. And I kind of looked at it as, okay, let's take away from the sort of issues of it all, and I have an opportunity to give my child a second language and to give her access to language. And I thought of it as, okay, what if I just looked at this as, what if I'm going to have the opportunity to teach her Spanish? I've never heard anyone say, oh, if you let your child watch Dora the Explorer, they won't ever speak English again. So we just kind of looked at it like that and said, we're just going to take the kind of heat of all the decisions and the drama surrounding it, and we're just going to start. And, I think as I looked too learned more about the brief window that you have for language acquisition, I just thought I don't want to miss that window, and I don't have time to go back and redo anything. So we just sort of said we are going to give our one child at the time all of the skills and the access to language that we can. And then, for us it was a fluid thing. We started off again just learning just a few signs and simple signs, and then the more she needed it, the more I realized, whoa, I gotta get going, because she is gonna fly by me quickly. And so we learned together, and so I think we just sort of did it slowly, and then I just saw just the wonderful gift it was to us, and yeah, we just sort of grew, and we grew together, and it was very fluid. We sort of changed. My daughter started off just signing, and I guess I should say too, both of my daughters have craniofacial conditions, and so there were other speech things too going on. And so she started off just signing, and then she would do sign and voice the word. And then now she is 7 and she will not stop talking. And she's having to go back and relearn some signs too for her younger sister. But yeah, it was a very overwhelming decision at first. It honestly feels like you're asking to pick a college for your little baby, and it just seems so, I don't know what they're going to need and that kind of stuff. So we just went with it, and it was just a huge blessing for our family to learn sign. We got to know wonderful deaf people, and really just saw that okay, these are, whatever ideas I had in my head, it was not like that. And that it just became so natural. And signing really allowed our family to have access to communication all the time. And I always tell the story, but my biggest turning point was we were kind of dabbling in sign and kind of trying to do both, but we weren't really sure which way we were going to go. And I was on an airplane with my daughter, and she was 2 at the time, and she had to go potty, so we went into the little tiny airplane bathroom, and she at the time was real short, obviously, so flushed the toilet, and she said too loud, took off her hearing aid, her Baja, and let go of it. Well, of course, it went right into the toilet, and after I had a momentary heart attack, I reached my hand into the toilet and grabbed that thing because I just spent a lot of money on it. And so, at that point, obviously, it was very dirty and wet, and so I wasn't going to put it back on her. And so I realized, I want to have full access to communicating with my child at all times. And, it's the reality of real life is kids go swimming and they wake up in the middle of the night and all these kinds of things, to where I wanted to be able to communicate at all times. So that was really our reason. So we were learning sign sort of on our own. I mean, I was kind of using signing time videos and books and just sort of dabbling in it. I would say maybe typical to what most kind of hearing their parents do. And at that point, honestly, we didn't start. We got a little bit of a later start because my daughter had so many other medical things going on the first year. We were just surviving. Honestly, the hearing loss was I just can't tackle that right now. We're surviving. And again, as she started just almost passing us up with sign, I decided we need to get going full force on this. And it wasn't really a natural environment with learning from a book or a movie. So we just decided we wanted to learn from someone who this is their natural language, and also to provide a role model for my daughter, positive relationships, and just to actually get to know a deaf person, not just what my perception is, and just sort of, it also provides wonderful access to the deaf community. It's, very intimidating as a hearing person and trying to navigate this new community that you're a part of. And so it's nice to have someone that will say, here, come do this or come do that. And again, really our biggest thing was just a role model. And we tried to always give my daughters exposure to deaf people and make it a positive experience. Another quick thing about when we were pregnant with my youngest daughter, they did extensive ultrasounds, and they felt like she was going to be hearing because of they could see her ears on ultrasound, and so they said, well, there's no microtia, she'll probably be hearing. And so we told my oldest daughter, said, now I just want you to know she'll probably be hearing. She thought for a second. She said, well, that's okay, she'll be cute anyways. So we really try to make it a positive thing, and it's not a disability in our family. It's just you have blonde hair, you have blue eyes, you have brown eyes, you're deaf, you're here. It's just a thing. And also another reason why we love the Deaf Mentor program is because it lets you ask all those sort of awkward questions that you're wondering, just sort of how do you navigate life? What do you do about ordering at a restaurant? What do you do about smoke detectors? Just those kinds of questions. We love the Deaf Mentor program because it's very natural. It's, we've gone to restaurants before, we've gone to the park, we've just gone upstairs and done bath time stuff, and just getting to learn, it's a very natural environment instead of sitting necessarily in front of a book on my own, just studying it. It's having access to different language in a very comfortable, your home setting or somewhere else. And it's just fun. I mean, we read books together, we've done crafts and Christmas stuff, so. I would say just to keep your options open, or, recommend for your families to keep the options open, because every child is, even just having two daughters that are both deaf, they both have the same, craniofacial syndrome, same surgery schedule, everything, they're just very different. Every child learns differently, and I said, there's just no cookie cutter explanation for one right route for every child. I think I would just, first of all, tell them what the options are. Sometimes when you go to the audiologist, you just are in there so quickly and you may not receive all the information. So just, let them know what the options are. I would say the other thing that was helpful for me was to talk to other families, because especially my girls are diagnosed so young. It's like, I don't even know, especially when it's your first child, like I didn't know what are the issues, what are things to consider, like what are we going to do at the water park, what things are we going to do, just all that kind of stuff. And to kind of meet with other families so you can find out where do you want to go and what works for you, and how would that best fit into my family. So that's one thing I would strongly recommend. And just that, again, it's fluid, you can change, and you need to be changing. I think every year you should, kind of evaluate, is this working? Is my child making progress? And if they're not, don't waste time. You need to jump ship and try something new, because you just have this precious little window of time. And so I think, you just always want to be evaluating and changing and really see, is this working for me or is this working for the needs of my child? Because, sometimes as parents, we have our little hopes set on something, and, sometimes we're trying to jam a square peg into a round hole and it's just not working. And so you have to just really know what your child's needs are. And so my girls are both deaf plus, meaning that they're deaf and have other things. They've had multiple surgeries and have a craniofacial syndrome, so they've had some issues with their jaw, and so that also impacts speech and everything. And so I would really say take that into consideration. Like for us, signing really was helpful for us, in addition to my daughter, but because my daughter's speech really, there was other issues with her speech, and so it was hard for us to understand her, and hard for her to articulate, and so it gave us an understanding of what she was trying to say, and it saved us a lot of frustration because otherwise we had trouble understanding her. So I think if you have families that are deaf plus, take that into account and really let them know, well, this maybe work for other families, and don't, discount that. Maybe not that I'm saying that, that, if you have special needs, that signing is okay for you, but not for other people. But we've had people tell us that, and that's just offensive. But it's something helpful to take into consideration. Also, another thing I would say for families that are deaf plus, or as my older daughter calls it, they're not vanilla deaf, they are funfetti deaf. Is as a parent advisor, my parent advisor was very, very flexible and would work with our schedule, and that was just essential because we sometimes have up to 9 appointments every single week, and sometimes it's not for lack of wanting to do the stuff and get all the information. It's overwhelming. So I would really highly encourage, especially for families that are deaf plus, just as much as you can be flexible and work with them. I've even heard of someone saying, okay, I'm going to go sit with you in the car and we'll have our meeting in the car while you're waiting at therapy, or I'll go sit with you in the doctor's office as you're sitting there for an hour. We'll do our meeting, and so that's just so essential and so helpful for families like ours that are just very overloaded. Another thing I really recommend that I really appreciate is to make it very relevant to what that family is going through, because again, when you have many appointments and you're tired and stuff, I really appreciate that our parent advisor doesn't just follow, okay, I have to step 1, step 2, and follow word for word, but that really has the wisdom to tailor it for our family and what is going to be, applicable to us. Like, for instance, so my daughters don't have ear canals, and so I know in the curriculum it goes through the different parts of the ear and traditional hearing aids. Well, that just doesn't apply to us, so I really appreciate to make it relevant.